Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Adeptus Ridiculous podcast. My name is DK Diamantes, and oh, look, it's Hal, the AmberKing. What could you be here for? Let's find out. Introduce yourself. Also, Bricky.
Yeah.
You said Hal first, so you go first, Hal.
I sure did.
It's me. I am DK's younger brother. We grew up with different mothers, though, so it's... No, just kidding. But
oh, yeah, mate. Where do you think I get my good old voice from? Or same place.
I'm going to get the rope. Okay.
Actually, Hal, you're going to need to save that rope for our good friend Paul is bad at stuff.
Yeah, I know, but he enjoys playing Space Marines a lot, so...
Well, that's the problem.
I know.
You know what won't hurt you, Bricky? Supporting us over at Patreon.com. Exactly!
Yeah!
Let's go! Patreon.com/Adeptus Ridiculous, where you can get access to the Discord bloopers if they happen. $15 tier gets you access to all of our posters in crispy, amazing digital form. Oh, wait. Posters, you say? I think we have a new one. Shy. Show it to them. I'm not even going to ask if they're ready for it. Just roll it.
Oh boy, we have the smug and the insufferable. The brand new, definitely based on the Wicked and the Warp.
No.
Jesus.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
Great. I saw the work in progress for this and I was just...
I'm sorry, one more time, Hal?
Do you body model for these? Is this off of your proportions?
Which one?
You may choose.
Are you asking?
God, I wish.
Yes, obviously these are my proportions, Hal. Can't you tell from the way I talk? This is obviously me.
Also, for those of you who have watched or been reading The Wicked and the Warp, the brand new Infinite Divine sequel, this will be particularly useful for you, as that is what it is based off of. Simultaneously, I am about a third of the way through the book already, and it is fantastic. The first chapter of the book, without spoilers, is literally Trazyn playing football against Tzeentch demons with himself.
What?
I know. Read The Wicked and the Warp. It is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm going to have to after that. Yeah, that's fair.
Yes. Also, by the way, if you love human-made art and you hate generative AI bullshit art, support us on Patreon so we can pay more money to our artist Hallistay, because this goddamn drawing took them 3 weeks and has unironically 124 layers in Photoshop. That's real human sweat and blood.
God damn, that's a lot of layers.
And also, please go ahead and check out Orchidate.com where you can get this poster in its physical form. Give it a look-see. Patreon.com and Orchidate.com. Down in the description. Get yourself some merch. Get your cool stuff. All right, I'm done.
Yeah. Hal, it's your turn.
Like, come on, do maths. It's like that. What's that from again?
That's Family Guy.
Family Guy, that's it. Family Guy. Today, guys, is the part 2, the follow-up of our previous episode on Gregor Eisenhorn. Inquisitor Eisenhorn, I'm sure you guys remember the fond... It was only last week, to be fair, but fond memories of the investigation into Xenos, the first novel. We were on 56 Izar, we had the Saruthi, we had all these kind of horrible aliens and a little bit of chaos. Just a little Salt Bay, little sprinkle of chaos on there. But to be fair, we don't in this episode need to explain who Eisenhorn is. We've already covered that, luckily. So if you guys are ready, we can basically just go straight into the events of the second novel, which is Malleus. You guys ready?
Hell yeah, kick it.
Yeah, do it.
Okay. Interestingly, there's a huge time skip. Over a century happens between the first novel and the second one.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
It's a big time skip.
I know it's 40K, but that's a lot.
Well, I will say a lot of the characters have some rejuvenate treatments, so they don't look that much older. But it's a long time since the events of the Necrotook affair. And we're going to open up with Mr. himself, Mr. Handsome, Mr. He Can't Smile, Inquisitor Eisenhorn. And he's currently on a planet called Leth 11. And I will say this novel it kind of throws you into the deep end. So it's going to take some explaining, but I'll hopefully hold people's hands so we can make it through this. Again, Really hard to get every detail in this novel. There's so many names. Like, this is the worst one in terms of minor character names, that it's just not gonna happen, guys. But I will promise you to give as best I can in, like, a little old podcast, the actual story of it. And it basically opens with him chasing a Xenos conspirator whose name is Beldame Sadia. And here on this planet called Leth 11, it's a bit of a strange one. It's kind of like like a populated gothic mega high structure. And the way this planet's alignment happens is that there's like a 2-week event. Like, basically, it's a 2-week eclipse because they have like multiple moons. And this event is like celebrated on this planet, and it's called the Dark Night. Funny that, because obviously it's a dark night. It happens every year, and apparently during this is when Eisenhorn is chasing Beldame Sadia, because Eisenhorn is a few hours away from dying. He's literally dying. He's about to
Oh,
die.
Okay.
I'll
Is it?
explain that in a second.
Oh,
No,
okay. I
I'm
was
leaving
about
you
to
there.
say,
I'm just
is
leaving you
Pl-
there.
Please do.
yeah.
And he doesn't have
Continue.
much time left. Some slight backstory. A lot has changed in the last century. Eisenhorn is now a renowned inquisitor. He's kind of known as, like, a bit of a rogue. Everyone, all the young inquisitors know his name. He has a staff of over 100 people that work for him now. He has Elizabeth Beckwin, who runs her own mini war band it's basically called the Distaff, and it's a small, like, elite kill teams that are filled with blanks, and they're often loaned out to other inquisitors. So he's not a small fry, like, he's not a 10-man or, like, small man group anymore. He's a renowned inquisitor. And it's opening with Beckwin, who hasn't been on the front lines for quite a long time. They all had rejuvenate treatment, so they even say in the novel, the only way you can tell someone's old is in, like, their eyes. You can kind of see the age there. Same with me, I'm dying inside. And it opens with the group's in, like, this small carriage, and they are trampling through these hive streets in search of Beldame, because Beldame has poisoned Eisenhorn secretly. Amos caught it, Mr. Most perturbatory, Mr. Amos, sorry. He
Mhm.
is caught on, and they are basically running out of time before Eisenhorn dies. In this carriage is Eisenhorn, Amos, Beckwin. They have an ex-Imperial Guardsman. There's an important character called Arianod Eswer Swendir, and she is a swordsman from the planet called Carthay. It's kind of those things where, like, it will keep coming up, this character or what is to do with this character. And there's also some other this character is also Eisenhorn's instructor, and she instructs him in this unique bladesmith, this martial art from her home planet. There's also 2 members of Beckwin's distaff who are in this carriage. They meet outside this massive, like, cathedral area, and again, like, think about these gothic streets, this eclipse, like, it's all black and it's all eerie. And they meet with another character called Interrogator Gideon Ravenor, who you might have heard previously in Warhammer stories being mentioned. Ravenor is not a particularly old guy. It says he's 34 at the start of this novel, and he is by far Eisenhorn's best student he has ever had. He's training him to be an Inquisitor. He's quite tall as a character. He's quite, maybe not as handsome as Eisenhorn, but he's decently looking. He has, like, a funny little, like, robotic kind of actuator gun on his shoulder. And it's clear his intelligence is just, like, he'll surpass Eisenhorn one day at this rate. And at this point, they start entering into this cathedral area. They're desperate to find Beldame and basically hoping to find an antidote because they're pretty sure someone in Beldame's staff has poisoned him. They're infiltrating below, and they see this, like, gathering group of cultists, these strange, like, murmurings and disgusting things going on. They see in the corner of the room a homunculus of the Drukari. Would any of you
Ooh.
care to explain if you remember what a homunculus is?
Oh, I
Bricky,
certainly do, but
would you
do we have
care
a
to?
preference?
You may do as you see. Say as you
Okay.
see.
I mean, DK, did you want to take this? You want me to do it?
I mean, I remember homunculus are kind of the people that the higher up in the Drukhari leave a little piece of their body with, so that if anything happens to them, they can just sort of stitch them back together, so their soul doesn't go
Yeesh.
screaming back to Tzeentch. What else do they?
Slaanesh.
I know. Oh, Slaanesh, right? I said
Yeah.
Tzeentch, didn't I? Oh
It can be
man,
Tzeentch. Depends what you've
that's
done on your search history.
ooh boy, that's gonna be in the comments. Anyway, yeah, Slaanesh. Sorry. And then don't they just torture people for funsies because they're Drukhari? I guess that's every Drukhari. I feel like I'm missing a big part of them.
I mean, well, okay, they definitely torture people for funsies. That is very true. However, Tzeentch, so
Yeah, sorry.
the homunculi covens are basically the fleshsmiths and crafters of the Drukhari, and they're also a very important people who gamble in lives because they normally are the ones who will rejuvenate and reclone dead Drukhari, so that their souls don't go to Slaanesh. And for the most part, they are very big into all of those weird flesh crafting and rebuilding and horrifying creatures and of course torture. But mainly, they serve as smiths to also rejuvenate and revitalize dead Drukhari as well.
They're really the flesh myths of Drukhari society, and of course, with Eisenhorn being Ordo Xenos, seems to be at least some, I guess, cooperation between this human like cult group and obviously they have benefactors. In this meeting with all these like different cultists and obviously their sponsor, Beldame appears in the room, and it turns out she's been around for a while because she starts waddling in on like augmetic spider legs, and she looks terrifying. Eventually, because of this, they're running out of time. The two groups start to clash, and in this like horrendous struggle, they start to get separated. Eisenhorn starts to feel his body kind of slowing down, if you know what I mean. He's in cold sweats. They're killing some of these people. He ends up fighting with Beldame in this like the separated tower section. She's like creepily crawling over the walls and stuff. Eventually, he gets stabbed in the back. He turns around and he sees this creepy little, I'll be honest, rat fuck named Pai or Pai, whatever his name is, and he's Beldane's poisoner. He's like dead, 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 dead. He's like creepy. Honestly, not invited to my birthday party. Disgusting person. And basically, Eisenhorn is like, it's over. I'm fucked. This little guy's laughing behind him. Beldane grabs Eisenhorn by the throat. No one is there with him. She lifts him up, and her head explodes.
Oh,
DK, someone else has entered into this, and I have a quote, DK, if you would please be so kind to read it.
Could it perchance be one of your many boys?
It is not. This guy, it is not.
okay. All right. Massive feet strode into my field of vision, armored feet, plated with ceramite. I rolled as best I could and looked up. Witchfinder Tantalid stood over me, holstering the bolt gun he had used to kill Beldame Sadia. He was encased in gold-encrusted battle arm, the pennants of the Ministrum suspended over his backplate. You're an accursed heretic, Eisenhorn, and I claim your life. Not Tantalid, I thought as my consciousness spun away again. Not Tantalid, not now.
Eisenhorn is not being saved. He's about to be executed. And his world goes completely black, and Eisenhorn just passes out. Over a day later, Eisenhorn awakens in an infirmary. He learns that Arianod, who is his teacher for the sword martial art, she died, and she was killed by the homunculus as well as several other members of his crew. They had been killed. Ravenor, who he knew that Ravenor and Arianod, they were like together secretly, and like that was the woman he loved. Ravenor killed the homunculus, but he had his like guts almost ripped out, so he's basically in the infirmary as well. They managed to find, basically the group managed to find they kind of rescued Eisenhorn. They managed to find the antidote on that like pie creepy fuck guy, and they halted the poison before it could sort of become to full completion. It's a very complex poison, and it's an important detail to remember later. Eisenhorn learns that the only way he was able to get out of being executed by this Tantalid figure was because Betancourt had saved him in the gun cutter. This is Medea-based Betancourt. This is good. This is sad to know now, but you guys, I was trying to keep it from the last episode, which is Midas Betancourt is no longer with us, unfortunately.
Oh,
It's not seen. You don't see it directly in novels, but you learn that Midas Betancourt was killed about 26 years ago before the events of this novel, and he was
they
killed
kill him
by
off camera.
yeah, but it's important to remember like the detail. There's a certain heretic who took his life, and this was before Medea, his daughter, could be born. So she never met her father. But Eisenhorn promised to look after Medea, and when she reached adulthood and she, like her father, got the Glavian silver inlays into her hands and she became an exceptional pilot, he offered her basically work inside his crew. So Medea Betancourt is now like the Betancourt who sort of goes with Eisenhorn. And she's got a bit of a thing about killing heretics, as you can probably imagine. But she's not quite her father, but she is an interesting character. And to be fair, I'll be honest, she's actually in more novels than Midas ever is. So it's even like reading some of these ones, it's quite cool to see Midas again, because I was like, I haven't seen this guy in ages, but I didn't want to say that in the first episode.
Yeah.
At this point, just to explain, the Tantalid guy, he's a witch hunter for the ecclesiarchy. And this guy, we learn, as probably you can imagine, he works for the ecclesiarchy, so he's got issues. He has something wrong with him. He has personal beef with Eisenhorn, and he only really thinks he's a heretic because he gets in his way sometimes. There's not actually there's no jurisdiction to kill Eisenhorn at this point. Like there's no reason for him to do this. He just hates Gregor Eisenhorn, and at many times they clashed over the years. So basically,
Just a generational hater.
This guy is such a twat, I'll be honest.
This dude's walking around in big gold-clad ceramite armor as a Malleus Inquisitor, I assume, right? And he, like the other guy, is like, "Man, Eisenhorn, you radical piece of shit! I'm gonna kill you." I'm assuming that's the concept.
And Tantalid is not an Inquisitor. He is part of the ecclesiarchy, which is it's even weirder.
Oh, he's a church ecclesiarchal person.
They have their own witch hunters
in gold ceramite.
Tantalid is a witch hunter of the ecclesiarchy. He's not part of the Inquisition, and he has that personal kind of beef with Eisenhorn. They seem to have been butting heads over the years because of it's like a jurisdiction issue. And the reason he's obviously here is because he just hates Eisenhorn. He wants to kill him. He doesn't actually, I assume, think he's a heretic at this point or anything like that. He's just, you bitch. So he's just such an arsehole. He's a little rat, scrawny guy. He's obviously got all the, all the gear, and he has all the stuff, but he has this massive two-handed chainsword as well. So he's got a problem, this guy, and he's not going to go away for a little while. In the wake of this,
two-handed chainswords are so cool, though.
It is cool.
How am I supposed to hate him when he's got all this swag?
I think in the audio he sounds like Eisenhorn, like that. He just sounds. You can tell he's a.
They gave him the Hell's Reach Helbrecht voice. I am High Marshal Helbrecht.
He's a real dickhead, in my opinion. In the wake of the events, we learned that in the start of the first novel, in the background lore, they mentioned how the Gudrunites, riflemen, were being brought up for a crusade in their subsector, and essentially, after this whole thing that's happened on Leth 11, we learn basically Eisenhorn is healing up, everything is going to be okay, and there's a big event which is going to be they're going to have this massive kind of triumph. And it's going to be a triumph for War Master Honorius, who has successfully completed this crusade. Only took him 100 years. Oops. Basically, it's going to happen on the capital of the Helicon subsector, and it's going to happen on a planet called Thracian Primaris, which is something I mentioned previously in the last episode. I didn't go into too much detail about it because this is the episode that will talk about it. And for poor old Eisenhorn, Many of the other Inquisitors like him have been summoned to basically attend this massive triumph, this parade. So the next section will happen on Thracian Primaris. Thracian is described as this enormous hive world. They mention how they even have to extend it out over the oceans because they just need more space. It is polluted beyond measure to the point that they are temporarily cleaning up the atmosphere. And in an effort to do this, they'll probably kill most of the creatures on the planet, but it doesn't matter because, for the Imperium,
Yeah.
hoorah, fuck them fish. Eisenhorn and his entourage, the crew's kind of getting back together now, and they arrive at Thracian, and they venture to one of the many estates that Eisenhorn owns. Like I said, he's a big deal Inquisitor now, and he has different holdings, different areas on many different planets in the Helican subsector. This estate he's on is pretty nice. It's in the nice area because obviously he's an Inquisitor. He doesn't need to pay for anything. And it has the highest security. It has servants. It's luxurious. And it also houses some of the distaff, which is the small group of kill team blanks that work for Eisenhorn that are controlled by Beckwin. The group at this point, it's it slows down the pace a bit here where they sit down for a nice meal. They're all dressed nicely. They all have known each other for so long at this point. They're all really close. Although, to be fair, it does state Eisenhorn considers his only true friend ever to have been Midas Betancourt, and that the others are more like allies. They're really good. They get along, but these are people who we're working towards a goal. Whereas he would have been friends with Midas even if he stopped doing inquisitorial work. There's Eisenhorn, Amos, who, despite being little, I wouldn't say rodent man, but he's kind of a little hunched figure who, he likes his books. He seems to get along with everyone, which is really amazing in these scenes because he's talking to people who are I pop people's heads for a living. He's talking to professional killers, and he just seems happy dandy. He's just loving it. Beckwin's there, and Ravenor, who he's a bit sullen because obviously Arianod, who was the swordswoman who was his lover, she obviously has died recently, so he's not feeling his best. But Eisenhorn knows that he's going to be okay. There's an ex-bounty hunter, and he's also at the table, and he speaks to Amos quite a lot, funny enough. It's a really weird pair that they get along. Harlan Nail, he'll be in multiple novels going forward. This guy, I'm pretty sure, looks like a Neanderthal. He just, that's the only way I could describe how he looks. He's just big and brawn and, kind of a little bit ugly. But he is, the most charismatic. This guy is kind of ugly Captain Jack Sparrow. I'll be honest. He's really charming. And whenever he talks, he's yeah, boss, I see what you mean, huh? He talks like that the entire time.
So he's got a silver tongue kind of it seems like he sounds kind of suspicious the way you describe him.
No,
ugly
not at all,
Jack Sparrow, man. Come on.
He is
Exactly.
great. This guy is awesome, by the way. When he's in the Ravenor novels as well. This guy is one of my favorite characters. Eisenhorn at this point, they're having this great dinner, they're relaxing, they're preparing for this triumph. This is when Eisenhorn learns from his head of security at the estate that someone has tried to break in at least 3 times over the months they've not been here. He gathers Amos and Ravenor, and they begin to investigate. And they learn that whoever was doing this, it's clearly professional because the first few attempts were clearly to test the security of the system. They've even found some listing devices. When presented onto the table before them, Amos points out they're going through the different factions. They think is it the Mechanicum? Is it the Assassinorum? And Eisenhorn's if it's the Assassinorum, we'd be dead. And Amos kind of says these devices, they're obviously manufactured so we cannot tell who it really belongs to, but in that way we can kind of tell who it belongs to. Maybe it's the Inquisition. That obviously sets off some alarms to Eisenhorn. He's that's a horrible theory. Eisenhorn does not sleep well. He keeps dreaming of the man with the blank eyes, Cherubael, the demon host we've seen in the previous episode. He doesn't sleep well, so he awakens in the night, and then he believes something is wrong. Something doesn't feel right, so he goes down to the kitchen area, and he sees a figure. He raises his pistol, only to realize he's jump scared Medea Betancourt. She's oh, fuck. Calm down, calm down. And I believe it states in the novel, Eisenhorn did not realize that at the time he was, in fact, quote, very naked. which is the term he gets from Midas.
Well,
To
as
which,
opposed to only slightly naked, of course.
yeah, it's called very naked. So Medea's like, "Did you forget something?" And he starts to be a bit embarrassed. He's like, "Oh shit, my bad, my bad." Another pistol emerges from the shadows. It's my boy Harlan Nail. This is the actual time I can only say my boy, by the way, because this is the only boy in the whole episode. Harlan Nail, he puts like a silent finger up. He also looks at Eisenhorn and he looks a bit puzzled because he goes, "Why are you naked?" Like, because he doesn't say anything. He's like, "Huh?" There's definitely an intruder within the estate. So the two of them, they move through. They eventually find an individual in a black body glove and they start to tumble and throw punches. It's like a bit of a horrible mess because it's like pitch black. Eisenhorn is flopping around, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
They realize at one point Medea has her pistol out, like they freeze. It's not an enemy, it's the Inquisitor Titus Endor. It is the friend who was with Eisenhorn when they were both young little interrogators when they were under Hapshat. It's like his oldest friend. And Eisenhorn's like, "What the fuck was that? Like, what are you doing?" They both like, they calm down. They're like, "Okay, okay." Really weird. They sit down to have a drink together. Endor goes on to explain that he's also on Thracian Primaris because he's been summoned for this parade. There's a slight issue though, because a while back he was interrogated by an inquisitor named Ozma, he's kind of known as a very, very strict Puritan. If you remember the previous episode, we mentioned that Eisenhorn is a Puritan, but not quite as bad as like Puritans, like, like the
Yeah.
really like, I think this guy may be a Thorian even, like it's that bad.
That's why I keep making the joke of like, Eisenhorn, you're a radical inquisitor, you radical, because everyone treats him like he's a damn radical when in fact he's a Puritan, but he keeps on getting other Puritans to be like, man, screw you, Eisenhorn, you're playing with the devil too much.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah,
mean, he is a Puritan that's kind of doing radical stuff. So, I mean,
I guess
the
you'll,
shoe fits.
yeah, you might see. So they're having this drink together, and he obviously Endor was interrogated by Ozma to the point where it's like, you can have a chat with me, but you can't leave. Like, there was a threat involved there subtly. So Endor has infiltrated the estate to basically give Eisenhorn a warning, and which Eisenhorn is very grateful. But when Endor's leaving, he asks, "How many times did you try and break in?" He's like, "Oh, only this one time." So it clearly wasn't Endor who placed the listening devices into his estate. Later on, Eisenhorn goes to the Inquisitorial Palace on Thracian. I was like, it's like this part of the book does slow down a little bit, but it's doing a lot of world building at this time, and it does. I can not be able to like do it justice to like the scale and like the craziness of the different like scenes and different vistas they're currently placed within. In this Inquisitorial Palace, which obviously the layers of security are ridiculous, he goes to meet with Lord Inquisitor Rorken, who was also in the previous episode. He's the guy who has like the little extra hand flame and the little silver Zweihander, and he was like bellowing the the little hymn of banishment. He's like he's a reasonable guy, and Rorken does like Eisenhorn. Even Rorken states to him that there's been some stirrings, and that, like I mentioned at the very tail end of last episode, there was reports of an inquisitor encountering a demon host called Cherubael, and that the demon host spared the inquisitor's life because it thought he was Eisenhorn. So that's obviously like Eisenhorn's got two alarms going off, being like, two people have warned me, like something is going on here. In the next few days, they like dress in their fine regalia. Eisenhorn and Raveno, they're called up to attend this parade, so they dress in their finest gear, they look incredible. And eventually, over the main like parade ground of Thracian Primaris, the triumph is about to begin. Actually, I have a quote for you, Bricky, just to kind of explain. Eisenhorn explained the emotion of what he felt when this parade begins, and it sets up like the scale of what's happening. If you'd be so kind.
I certainly can. I also do enjoy the fact that it's a pretty good alarm bell, not just for the Inquisitor thing, but the fact that a demon host is like, "Oh, you're Eisenhorn, I won't kill you." Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, So at 10, the triumph began. A deafening roar of hooters and sirens blasted across the hive, followed by a mass cheer that quite took my breath away. By then, the streets were packed with close to 1 billion jubilant citizens. Oh, crap. You cannot say, oh, crap. Okay. By then, the streets were packed with close on 2 billion jubilant citizens. 2 billion voices raised as one. You cannot imagine it. In sunlit air vibrating with colossal cheering, the great triumph moved out from the armored depot. It was to follow an 18-kilometer route straight down the kilometer-wide avenue of the Victor Bellum, right into the heart of the hive and the monument of the ecclesiarch. Millions lined the way, cheering, applauding, waving banners and imperial flags. I like that they're doing the scale thing again.
There were 2 billion citizens?
Yeah. This is one of the few novels
with a billion?
That's to get across how, like, can you imagine the physical wave of noise it must, like, it would almost hurt your body. That, you know,
That's more
you've been
than
in, like, one room
planet's
with people
worth.
playing Warhammer, like, it already feels loud. Imagine 2 billion people's worth of noise. I was gonna ask you the question, guys. Like, do you think Warhammer really, like, why do they just really struggle with, I would say, scale in Warhammer? When, like, in a novel like this, it's kind of achievable, but why is it scale is so bad in other things? Like, what do you think?
Because a human
Why?
mind can't comprehend it.
Yeah.
Because the human mind is really bad at comprehending a certain volume of people. Also, like, these are writers, not mathematicians. They don't know that you'll go through ammo at this rate, at this speed, in this area. This is
They're just looking for impact and drama
This is some late 30s British bloke who wants to write about the cool Inquisitor spy novel. He doesn't know about how much ammo a gun goes through at what rate per minute, He's just,
Yeah, heresy stuff is the worst for that, to be honest. But this one is pretty intense, I would say. The fact that, like, Eisenhorn and Ravenor, like, in this point, they join the other Inquisitors in the parade. They seen some faces they recognize, which I'll go into a bit later. Ravenor at this point, he's wearing like a badge that represents Carthay for, the woman he loved who is no longer here. Like, it's kind of like his last moment of, you know, I will, like, honor her in my own way. And Eisenhorn at this point, he sees Ravenor's pretty close to being his own Inquisitor now, and he's really thinking again, like earlier I was stating, he's the best student I will ever make. He will surpass me one day, probably. And, he's basically feeling quite proud of him. At this point, the parade, it is just, again, it's hard to get across how ridiculous it is in this novel. The scale is incomprehensible. They have titans, entire multiple regiments. They have a entourage of the Aurora chapter. The Space Marines are here. There are unending columns of tanks. The ridiculous swath and, like, the tortured parade and the things of the ecclesiarchy is here as well, with their, like, their pope-mobiles and all that crazy stuff. The Inquisition is like, the Inquisition has, like, a very small part of the parade, I would say, like the little small section, but still pretty impressive. They are led by the Grand Master Orsini, who's a very elderly member of the Inquisition, and he's probably not long for this world necessarily, but he's there. And finally, they have War Master Honorius, who hauls behind him, helped with by parts of, like, many different functionaries, like the Mechanicus and other different parts of the Imperium. They help haul out a prize that was the best, like, achievement of the Crusade, which is a cluster of captured and secured alpha level psychers. I was wondering if you guys would anyone want to explain how dangerous an alpha level psyker is? To give it in scale, Eisenhorn is nowhere near an alpha level psyker. So would any of you two care to explain why an alpha level psychic is particularly dangerous?
I'm gonna leave this one to you, DK.
So I don't entirely know what an alpha level psyker is. I don't know if we've specifically discussed alpha level, but if these are, like, super potent psykers and you're just parading them around. I don't know. I know psychers can, oops, I ripped a hole in time and space, and now there's a giant warp hole here that's spewing demons everywhere. So that could be an issue.
It
If
is
they break quarantine.
it is like the scale of Eisenhorn could mess with someone's mind, and an alpha level psyker could like bring down a whole like skyscraper onto someone. Like the power scale is just unbelievably different. And this is like considered the War Master Honorius' like grand prize, and it was helped captured by Inquisitors such as Commodus Vogue, if you remember from the previous episode, Heldane, who's his own Inquisitor now, and one named Lyco. So there are other it's like a massive achievement, and they're paraded before the millions of people being like, yeah, look at these disgusting human filth, look at these horrible things. It is a ridiculous display of imperial might. As the parade moves through, Eisenhorn starts to almost feel ill by like the level of noise, like, and like the bone vibration of it. And
2
when
billion
he's
people.
yeah, and also they're walking for like hours. At some point, he feels a very strange sensation, and he stops by this one of the many like different gates they pass through, like a large gate. And this one is made in honor of a man called Spacian, who was part of this crusade long ago. I think he maybe even featured like as an offhanded side character comment in the first episode as well, like in the events of Xenos. He actually runs into like it's weird that he's stopping to honor Spacian because it's not really like Eisenhorn to do this. He runs into a character we've seen very briefly before, and it's a man named Madathene. Like I told you, like the amount of like small side characters in this novel is like it's killing me. Like he runs into this guy, and this was the previous naval officer who helped attack the Gudrun estate with Eisenhorn in the previous book. He's been a naval liaison for Eisenhorn, kind of an ally. They share like a very small scene. It is here when Eisenhorn gets like a weird sensation again. Like again, something doesn't feel right. He looks up into the sky and he sees like 12 of the multiple different flyer ships, and something is wrong. 2 of them smash into each other.
Oh.
2 of them start careening down, and they smash into the parade itself. And there's a small moment of silence, and then pandemonium just hits. DK, there is a quote for you here to explain what happens immediately after this, if you would do, please.
2 billion people.
Yeah.
Also, just for reference, Shai said psychers of grade Delta through Alpha inclusive are extraordinarily powerful individuals, and such abilities manifest in only 1 out of every 1 billion human births in the Imperium. Such psychers represent a primary threat to humanity if they go rogue or become possessed, but if they possess the willpower and receive the training needed to control their abilities, they can become the greatest of Space Marine librarians. And you are parading several of these fuckers?
I think it might be nearly 30 of them or something. It's like a crazy
30
number.
of them?
I can't remember the exact
Of
number.
psychers that could potentially become a librarian, like an amazing one? That's okay. Now, this seems a lot. Anyway, sorry. Your quote.
Yeah.
The crowd moved as one, a fluid thing, like water. There was no decision-making process, no ringleader. Mass instincts simply compelled the people who swarmed the vast street in awful, trampling tides. I saw people die in their hundreds, trampled underfoot or crushed in the sheer press of bodies. In some cases, the dead were so squeezed by their neighbors they were carried along for many meters before being free to slither to the ground.
This is where that slow start starts to give you a head, like a temple punch. This gets horrific. The absolute millions, the billions in the crowd start to get mowed down by the military in the center, who are like they're swarming nearly over them in their desperation. More of the planes drop from the sky. They start smash. I'm not talking like down. I'm talking sideways smash into piles of people in the crowd. Plane smashes into a Titan's face. More of the planes start doing strafing runs into the people and they just butcher them in their thousands like fish in a barrel. The cacophony of
Oh.
noise, of violence is so overwhelmingly horrific that Eisenhorn almost loses his mind. And obviously, he's not a young guy. Like, he's seen some shit. This is the worst thing he's ever seen. But even worst of all,
Oh.
they realize the alpha level psychers, they're loose.
Oh.
In a what is
Oh.
described as a graveyard of smoke and bodies that is unending and fire, Eisenhorn starts to encounter like shapes in the mist. He starts to shoot what he believes is some of these alpha level psychers. He managed to take one by surprise. Some space marines from the Aurora chapter assist him until one of them turns around. He's seeing this is child. It looks like he's been burnt, and the space marine goes to help him, only to realize it's actually a mutant psyker, and it forces Eisenhorn to kill the space marine with his own gun. He then orders Eisenhorn to kill himself. And shakily,
Ooh.
even though Eisenhorn is a psyker, and it's like bursting his brain to resist, his arm shakily rises to his head, aims at his temple, and he pulls the trigger. From the
He's out of
smoke,
ammo, baby.
Inquisitor Commodus Voke uses his psychic power to hold the gun and bullet in place, and it tells Eisenhorn to aim it elsewhere as a little terrifying psychic child creature runs off into the mist. Eisenhorn barely manages to move the gun out of the way before the bullet cocks off, so that was extremely lucky. He starts to see from the other mists around him, the fire, that Vogue, Lyco, Haldane, other members of the Inquisition and their little entourages, they've arrived and they're starting to like cut down the psychers, but many of them have gone missing. And essentially, the aftermath of this horrible massacre is just complete pandemonium. The entire world of Thracian Primaris, the communications die. So it's just like it's an utter like horrendous event that will be spoken about, in the many years and decades to come, especially centuries. I mean, even the fact like most of the deaths were actually from the Imperial soldiers having to kill the citizens. So, and like literally,
Yeah.
Titans was trying to shoot the planes in midair and tanks were firing. It was I can't do it justice to how like it just makes you go like it hurts your brain to read this section.
Yeah, and like we've talked about like a lot of like gruesome deaths, but something about being jam packed like sardines in a can with 2 billion people in a parade, and then planes are just coming out of nowhere trying to. Oh man, I just like all those not creepy, but like those claustrophobic videos where there's like a crowd crush. Exactly, Shy. That's the word, and like the crowd is just like suffocating you. Oh man, I hate it. Oh, it's just awful.
I still get like weirdly haunted by there's a certain part we explained out about one of the planes, like literally like when it's crashing it, like I mentioned earlier, like it crashes sideways.
Yeah, like when they're doing
and it
like the
just starts
strafing runs
mowing
into the
down
people. Oh, it's awful. I hate it.
Yeah, this is it's a pretty dark, like again, like that very slow start starts to go like it gets really
Yeah.
downhill.
It's
At this
to
point-
me that like it's almost worse than like a demon kielbasa thing, because a part of me is like I can imagine being in like an awful crowd that's just suffocating you and ugh.
Yeah,
See,
it's
well,
a
it really wait. So I like to roll back for a quick second.
yeah, of course.
Remind me again why we had alpha level psychers here.
It was designed to
Just show
be
off.
basically to show off. Yeah, it was, and they
Crazy.
were kept under guard with like parts of the Mechanicus. They were like in like these tanks and machines originally, but obviously something
Right.
went wrong.
But were they like slaves, or were they like just
They were captured. They were like prisoners.
right?
essentially.
Okay. Because that initially I was just like thinking about that. I was like, man, this is
Why?
it's a I don't know, it's a crazy idea to like be palling
Yeah.
around like, check out these new nukes we got, baby, and like just having them ride with folks.
It
It is
is wild.
Speaks to imperial hubris, doesn't it? But at this point,
Yeah.
basically the all-out chaos on Thracian, it's just turned into like almost like a mini civil war. Eisenhorn joins with Commodus Voke, Lyco, Haldane, and another Inquisitor called Roban, and they basically hold up in these RBT's precinct with other bits of RBT. Basically, anyone they could gather who was within earshot. There's no Vox, there's nothing. There's riots on every stage, people are starving. The people are attacking the precinct because they think there's food in there. Or like gangs think they can kill the Inquisitors and RBTs, basically. It's horrendous. Eventually this group, like again, like surmising a long story short, they work out that one of the alpha level psychers is a being known as a Sharadon, and he's taken hold in a noble's like estate, a house, not Eisenhorn's one, just another one. And he's been sending waves of controlled civilians, like mind controlled civilians, to attack and slow them down. So Eisenhorn, like a few Astartes and the other Inquisitor, they have to kill some more civilians, which again Eisenhorn will not forgive, but he will not shirk from his duty, as all Inquisitors do.
Oh yeah, how did Eisenhorn kill that space marine? Were they like helmetless or something, and they were held in place, or?
He has that bolt gun, like the bolt pistol. Sorry, if you remember from the previous episode, and he's holding it up, and like the alpha level psyker made him move his arm up, and the Astartes like, "What are you doing?" And he basically shot him through the eye lens.
Oh, okay. Well, it was more about like him. How did he shoot him with a gun powerful enough to get through the ceramite? But okay, it's that old bolt pistol thing. Sure.
Yeah, he still has the bolt pistol, which he got in the end of the previous episode.
Right.
At this point, the group, they go to attack the estate. They realize that Sharadon can hear everything they're saying and thinking, because there's no way they can stop him. They're just strong enough, the Inquisitors together as a group, to like stop him controlling them. But he knows what they're thinking. So they're basically saying, doesn't matter what we do, we just got to attack him anyway. They manage to get to the like outer edges of the estate. More civilians are sent to like kill them. They go underneath it slightly and trigger an EMP from the like estate circuits. This almost kills Eisenhorn, a few of them, but one of the Aurora chapter like puts his own body in the way, and basically he gets crushed to death, but he manages to save them. To which Eisenhorn will stay in the novel, like he will make sure this particular Astartes is like honored by his chapter when he survives this. The Inquisitorial squads manage to get into the estate, and with the EMP that gets set off, it also has like a backfire, like a back loop effect. And like with your brain, you know how it's like kind of like it's like electrical circuits almost. It kind of short circuits a Sharadon and it's knocked him out temporarily. So they had to be quick. They're rushing in. They're in separate squads. Eisenhorn is joined up with Inquisitor Roban. And we should say, Roban is kind of he's not like a well-known Inquisitor, but he's the only one who seems like more of like a fun guy. And Eisenhorn likes him the most out of this group, and he seems more reasonable. Roban has an interrogator who like is junior, you know, like how Ravenor is the junior to Eisenhorn. He has a interrogator and is a blonde man named Inshabel, and they're in like this really small squad together. They eventually make their way further in. They have to fight these controlled like defense servitors, which are obviously pretty good because they belong to a noble family. Roban is like cut in half, I think. Like, he's cut down. He's like gutted, which poor Inshabel does not like. Eisenhorn here starts to show the sword art that he learned from Arianod, and this is something which will keep coming up in the next few novels. I think it's like the way of like the perfect cut or something. It's kind of basically, I'll be honest, he turns him into a samurai. I won't lie.
It kind of sounds like that, yeah.
Yeah, like he's learning the move sets. So he explains it as he's doing this scene. He's like, the different moves have different names, and they all build up to like what's called like the final kill, the final cut. And the moves, I even have a few of the names because people who like Eisenhorn will appreciate this. There's the Gahan Fasal, the Tahwalan, the Uwi Sa, and then the final Uwin Ulsala, which is like the final kill cut. So it kind of builds up to that.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
They do it. It will keep coming up. It is a bit of a weeb, I won't lie, but it is fun. It's not overdone much, to be fair. But Eisenhorn and Inshabel, they're the only ones left, and obviously Roban is dead. There's nothing they can do for him. They push further into the estate, and they find Inquisitor Lyco and his men, and they're torching this body. Eisenhorn walks up and he says, you know, we got him. Thank you for killing a Sharadon. To which Lyco is like, no problem, man. No problem. In the wake of this conflict, communications are finally reestablished. The let's just say the order is being reinstated over Thracian Primaris, so obviously more people will die, but it's, things are getting back online.
Oh, sorry, I
Only
forgot to say, foreshadowing is a literary device that is, yeah,
yeah,
et cetera,
yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. Moving on.
Uh,
As he's meeting up with his group, he sees like Beckwin, Amos, people are okay, except this is where he discovers that Gideon Ravener has 100% burns on his body because he was not protected by this Spatian gate, which is where Eisenhorn was when the initial attacks happened. And Ravenor basically, they had cut his mouth open to basically let him breathe.
ugh.
Ravenor is a mild psycho, as I mentioned, but he's out, he's on life support at this point. And Eisenhorn laments the loss of someone as amazing as a Ravener. And he vows, we probably shouldn't do, is he vows to get revenge for his pupil, his friend. In lieu of this, Eisenhorn is pissed. He's
Yeah,
so
I
pissed.
bet.
And there's so many unanswered questions about how this disaster happened. Eisenhorn, at this point, he sends most of his staff, we're leaving Thracian, we're not coming back here, we'll go to our proper estate on Gudrun. I'm going to take a small team, so we're going to follow up on this. This is not going to get buried, even though this is not my assigned task. I'm doing this. As he's preparing to leave, the interrogator Inchabel, who was previously with Inquisitor Roban, he's obviously very devastated by his master's death. He's come to speak to Eisenhorn before he leaves. He tells Eisenhorn that he thought something was a bit off, and when he looked at the body in the estate, parts of the body don't match up with the one that they basically present as being the dead Escharodon.
Mm-hmm.
Escharodon is probably alive, and Lyco faked the kill.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing is a
So
literary
yeah,
Yep. We all saw this one coming. Yep.
so he asked to go with Eisenhorn to basically avenge his master, and because obviously he has no one to basically be around. He wasn't an Inquisitor yet himself, so he asked to go with Eisenhorn. This ends the section on Thracian Primaris, and this is what begins basically the next full investigation, we should say, in the Eisenhorn series. We will then switch to a planet called Ekan or Echan. This is one of my favorite sections of the novel because it's so weird. The first part is they're trying to find out where could Escharodon be, because it's probably easier to find than Lyco, who's definitely gone into hiding. He's an Inquisitor. So they're going to try and find some black market deals for alpha level psychers, because someone might be selling him, or at least there's nothing where you can get news of a potential weapon such as Escharodon, who you did hear him speak a few times in the novel. He's kind of just a typical bad guy, I'm going to kill you, he wasn't like that. He's not designed to make much of a mark, I'll be honest. In this backwater called Ekan, I mean real in the sticks, sulfur polluted, horrible atmosphere, grimy, horrible hive place. Eisenhorn and, again, only character I can say it for this episode, my boy Harlan Nail, they put on some disguises, and this is the part that blows my mind. The disguise they put on is something they call twists, which is basically a nickname for being a mutant. And I don't understand how they can put on a disguise that is that good that they basically blend in as mutants. They have extra limbs and like tentacles and other weird gribblies on them. They make it sound like they put on a little onesie suit. It's so bizarre, but I love it. And they're trotting through this terrible area. Harlan Nail, the next bounty hunter for a long time, so he's I know this the back of my hand. I know what I'm doing. They flash some gold around. They do go to a mutant strip club,
Hell yeah.
which is fun.
Okay, that's pretty fun.
There's I'm not gonna lie, it's they basically go into Mos Eisley's.
Yeah, I was gonna kind of say that a little bit. I was getting a little bit of that, but I didn't know how much to,
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if I was gonna boss baby it at all, but it did have that vibe. Also, Shai did say earlier that this guy is like Zaid, and you know what? Damn, this guy really is like Zaid.
Nail is so good at blending in, because Eisenhorn is not as good as he's obviously I guess, privileged in some way. Like, he's obviously a well-educated man, and he finds it hard to, like, pretend to sort of not be himself, whereas Nail is so good at it, and, like, he knows all the lingo, and he, like, slapped someone on the arse once as well. He's like, just pretending to be interested. There's a funny part. They pretend to be interested in the lap dancing that's happening in the club just to blend in better.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then,
Ah,
like,
yes.
yeah, they're like,
Pretending. Me
they're
too,
like,
dog. When
"Yeah."
I go to the strip club, I'm only pretending to be into the lap dance.
No, honey, you don't seem to understand, sweetheart. This is for the investigation. I had to do it.
This was for the Imperium, for the sake of the greater Imperium. I only put $100 worth of ones in her thong because, it was blend in.
100
The,
slates.
Yeah, slates.
The-
Sorry, you're right.
The voice acting in this section is so funny because they meet some like ganger in the strip club. He's like, I could take you to the meeting, yeah. And Han's like, oh, you better be at the meeting, yeah. I like see some real shit, yeah. It's like it's just such a proper like Mos Eisley vibe to it. They swing their proverbial dick around a bit. They flash some gold, and that's how they're basically able to like. They'll probably get into the meeting for wherever this like background auction is for this alpha level psyker. The problem is they did flash some gold around. So in like the mud slicking streets, when they're moving away, they get jumped. Obviously, these people who are jumping them, I think they have like some real homemade, like Walking Dead level like gear. They don't realize they're attacking. Yeah, they don't realize they're attacking like probably the hardest motherfucker alive and an Inquisitor. So they get absolutely decimated. I think Eisenhorn uses his will a few times. Obviously, unfortunately, their fight alerts to the local RBTs that something's going on. So they have to run away. They kill a few of these guys. They rush into like secret quarters where they're pretending to like hide out. At one point, they realize the RBTs is following them, and they don't want to blow their cover. So like Nail goes into the bathroom and starts pretending to be like throwing up from a heavy night of drinking. Beckwin is in there, and she's also got a disguise on, and she's like, Eisenhorn, jump in the bed with me. They pretend they're like disgusting, ugly mutants getting it on, and the RBTs like burst in the room, and they go like, where have you been tonight? And they're like, hey, what you doing, mate? What you doing? Yeah, true life of a Brexit geezer, mate. They're like, so...
You gotta do that voice more often.
Wake up, mate.
Wake up, get to like their wife Susan, my little princess. Is she beautiful?
It's looking lovely today, lads. It was
the good old pie. Sorry, I love that video. I love that video.
It's so amazing, this part, but the RPG's like, never mind. So that worked out. We learned from this that as well, like, basically when they're like, Beckwin's like, don't look in the Eisenhorn, when they're getting changed after. And we probably learned that Eisenhorn is like, he's definitely in love with Beckwin. He loves her. They can't be together because she's a blank and he's a psycho. They can't even touch each other, like be near each other that long. But he definitely like has a thing for her. At this point, the investigation, they've managed to get themselves into this meeting, but obviously it's probably not going to be that safe. So Eisenhorn, Amos, Beckwin, Nail, and a new minor character who's like a sharpshooter. He's like an ex-bounty hunter as well. His name is Hussman. Oh, also Inchabel is there as well. They agree that they're going to go to this meeting. Some of them, like Inchabel, Nail, Hussman, they're like in the outer edges, hiding, while the others enter into the meeting, like with their like disguises and other things. They enter into this kind of weird, like again, it's like a shantytown, like hell pit area, and they're surrounded by very, very strange individuals. There's some people who are like probably gangers. There's one person who's alone, which Eisenhorn's like, he's probably the most dangerous there. Some of them look like kind of like Necromunda Noble-esque characters almost. Some of them look like cult groups. Bricky, there is a funny part, which is there's one group that looks really out of place, and I have a quote here to explain what Eisenhorn makes of these people, if you'd be so kind.
The last, a bitch-faced crone who had inadvisably wedged her ancient body into a close-fitting spiked black body glove, the mark of a death cultist, or would-be death cultist, I thought. She had 5 masked and harnessed slaves with her, all of them sweating in the misty heat. I saw at once they were out of their depth. They played at Death Cult up in the Eries?
Eries.
Eries? What is it? What is an Erie? I'll ask later. Up in the Eries of the main hive, maybe cutting their skin and drinking blood once in a while. The closest they had come to a real death cult was watching some blurry, fake snuff picked to impress their friends after a banquet.
There's a
Wow.
group who have turned up in BDSM gear, and
They're
Death Cult
LARPing.
LARPers.
They're LARPing death cult assassins. That's really funny.
it makes me laugh every time I think of the scene because they turn up in all their latex leather gear, and they're like, "Oh fuck," you know what I mean? They don't realize how far they are. They're so
Eries are
far
like
over their
little
head.
bird nests and shit, like little high rises, spires and the like, right?
Yeah, this group is so out of place. It makes me laugh every time I read this scene.
I do
It's
not know
so
why.
funny.
I have no idea why, but for some unfathomable reason, my mind goes immediately to that scene in the movie Dodgeball when they get the wrong outfits and instead they get the
Oh, yeah.
BDSM gear.
And they have to trade.
I mean,
Yes.
They still play the game in it, don't they?
Yes, they do, and they win, and it's a whole thing. That's the first thing my mind goes to, and I don't know why, but yeah.
BDSM gear,
can-
man. That's what they're
You can
wearing.
dodge a
It is what
wrench,
they're
you can
wearing.
dodge a ball.
Dude, he
Yep.
just like, why do I drink my own pee? I don't know, come on, it's sterile and I like the taste.
You know, I watched that
Rest
not
in
long
peace.
ago. Oh, that's so funny. The bidding for this alpha level psycho almost immediately begins. The BDSM group try to shuffle their way out because they realize they're probably going to be killed immediately because everyone knows they're like full of shit and they're like arguing with the bouncer. The bidding is like something like, let's get serious. Like Eisenhorn in particular, they drop a huge amount of money, and some of the others are like, oh, finally, it's like a real bid. Except finally, Mr. Inquisitor Lyco, he interrupts the meeting because we learn that this is probably a trap to see who was following him. One of the participants, the one who was by himself, he rises up, his clothing unveils and burns away, and it says, "Hello, Gregor. I missed you." It is Cherubael. Cherubael, the demon host, was basically right next to them. Eisenhorn is
boy.
just stunned. He is so like, what? Like, he couldn't predict this was going to happen at all. Lyco orders Cherubael to kill them all. The whole thing just erupts. And again, like,
Oh.
it just erupts in violence. It is people start throwing, killing each other. Trubael tries to talk to Eisenhorn, and he almost sounds like delighted. He says like, "I missed you." He's saying like weird things to Eisenhorn, and Eisenhorn's like rejecting him, like "Why do you haunt my dreams? Why do you follow me?" Inchabel, Nail, Hussman, they're starting to, they're cutting down people. They're trying to kill these gangers. Trubael though doesn't seem interested in a fight at all. It's only when Eisenhorn like launches himself forward, and he actually like cuts him with a blade, that like Trubael like kicks him back, and he almost like basically almost kills him from doing that. And he's like, "Leave me alone." He's like growls at him like, this is not the right time.
Mm-hmm.
We see Trubael, Asherodon actually was there, and he gathers him up and he follows Lyco as they're trying to escape. There's this crazy scene where like they're a chase, like Eisenhorn goes alone on a speeder and he chases them through like the traffic of like the hive. It's a pretty like weird bit. They infiltrate a manufactorum. They're going over like different conveyor belts. He's able to kill a few of the guards of Lyco. He manages to catch up to Lyco and actually manages to defeat him. He prepares to psychically draw out, secrets. Why have you been doing this? Who is your master? Until Cherubael interrupts. He kills Lyco. Like, he sends him to his death. Like, he drops him off the edge or something. And he just leaves with the Sharadon. So it shows that Lyco wasn't the one who, like, controls Cherubael. So the mystery is, like, we're left with, like, more questions than answers, essentially. With this kind of thread, annoyingly, we can surmise at least that Cherubael is involved in the plot that was linked to Thracian Primaris in some way. but and it obviously maybe links to Eisenhorn in some way, but the Ekam is a dead end. With this obviously going nowhere, the group once again they board the SN with Tobias Maxilla, who if you remember from the previous episode, and they are arriving at another location to explore another possible lead. Eisenhorn, at this point, there's like a vista change where he stands on this graveyard, in this like massive graveyard that stretches beyond the horizon. Here, a figure, a very tall man with like blonde hair, but like a bit of salt and pepper on the sides. Mr. Godwin Fishig, the Arbites captain from earlier, he approaches Eisenhorn and greets him warmly. He's like, "Good to see you, friend."
Oh, from the first book.
Yeah, he actually was he still is part of Eisenhorn's entourage. And he's not been here because he's been sent somewhere to investigate a threat for Eisenhorn. He's not an Inquisitor in his own right, which he goes on to explain that he thinks he probably wouldn't have made it a great Inquisitor. He's a bit too like I think even Eisenhorn surmises like maybe if he tried and failed, he wouldn't forgive himself. But Fishig is people like him quite a lot. Nail likes him. Fishig is really upset by the news of what happened to Ravener because he respected him, and he probably also, I think it says in the book, like he thought Ravener was probably like better than him in some way. So like he's like such a shame what happened to him, and they're standing on this massive graveyard staring out, to which Eisenhorn can't explain like something's happening. They seem to be removing some of the gravestones, but I believe, is it DK? I have another quote here, if you would please. And he goes to explain what's happening in this particular field in this scene.
Yeah. As you might imagine, a martial world like this produces many dead. Long ago, an edict was made by the planetary government that only certain fields of land could ever be used for burial. So cemetery space is at an optimum, hence the law of decipherability, which is... The law states that once the eroding hands of time and the elements have made the last names on a field's gravestone illegible, the anonymous dead may be exhumed, the bones buried in a pit, and the field reused.
This will make sense because the world they're standing on is Cadia. They are removing the gravestones of those who basically if you can no longer read the names on it, you may exhume the field and plant new graves. Yeah. So they're on Cadia. This is like 400s, M41. This is long before the 13th Black Crusade.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, for you guys, if you were to be on a guard regiment world, what do you think is the worst like world to be born into? Because I would almost argue that Cadia is probably pretty up there.
No, hell no, dude. Catachin, like by far.
Well, no, that's
my
the worst.
brain
I think
immediately went
Cadia's
to
still up there.
Catachin. Yeah, Krieg would suck. Yeah.
We unfortunately have to remove Cadia from the statistic pool. It's no longer a fair choice.
Yeah, it's not there anymore.
Yeah, my brain
also, but like
yeah, like you, my brain immediately Catachin with all the crazy bugs and all the death shit trying to kill you there.
Oh, that's number one for sure. I kind of don't, even much as I know like Valhalla probably sucks. I have a strong, I've read all the Caiaphas Cain novels, so I've kind of got a bit of a soft spot for Valhallans. I do
well, that is good. They certainly will not have a soft spot for you.
No, they do not.
The planet won't.
Their spear will.
The first Cain novel where the men and the women group just like kill each other in the cafeteria. Like it's that bad. It's just oops. Yeah, so the group is on Cadia because many months before, Eisenhorn has sent Fishig to investigate these cults that are called themselves the Sons of Baal. And these cults had been happening on... Basically, we learned that Cadia, there's a cult every like 2 weeks, basically. Like it's pretty... You're that close to the Eye of Terror. There's nothing you can do. And weirdly enough, because obviously Eisenhorn never really gave up his search for clues about Cherubael since the events of Xenos. And they find out Fishig, who I think actually originally it says like Maxilla transported Fishig to Cadia. And funny enough, they seem to have become very good friends, despite being, one's like almost like bureaucratic old, French noble looking guy, and the guy's like a basically a policeman, but they seem to somehow become like good friends. And these groups, these Sons of Baal and other different cults, have been measuring the pylons of Cadia, which is really weird. Fishig then introduces Eisenhorn to the local inquisitorial office, and this is run by an inquisitor named General Neve, who she's his old lady. She's got a cane, and I think Fishig describes to Eisenhorn like she's basically the definition of a real hard ass. Sorry, in the novel. She's a bit of a is Cadia. She hasn't got time to piss around. Again, like making a really long story short, because this one could otherwise we'd be here for like multiple hours. The group spends many months scouring the archives and data around Cadia and these cults, because they don't understand how either these cults are brought onto planet or information is basically leaving the planet about basically about these pylons. Something doesn't seem to add up, like how these cults keep happening, whereas other ones are more like internal. Like they spent like God, I flubbed that. They explain it like many months. They just spend the entire day like traveling in the horrible winter of Cadia. You get up, you go to the archive, you read for 10 hours, you go home. They do that for like months and months and months. They're about to give up until Maxilla, my funny boy Maxilla, who always has a quip for every single situation, he calls them to like a little tavern on Cadia. At this point, Eisenhorn has got like no patience. He's like, "What are you doing?" Until Maxilla explains to them, he just snuck onto Cadia. He infiltrated Cadia successfully, even though that should be impossible. To which Eisenhorn and Neve are like, "What?" And even Fishig is like, "How the hell did you do that?" Because Maxilla used Eisenhorn's ident codes. So he was able to infiltrate Cadia because he basically used the authority of the Inquisition. So whoever's behind this clearly is an Inquisitor. And it's not, it's not Mr. Dead Guy who they just killed in the previous thing, because it's been happening for many years and months. So, it's not Lyco. So it's obviously another Inquisitor. Again, long story shorting it, because we don't have time, they go through the logs again. They try to find whose idents have been used to enter Cadia without being questioned. This is when Eisenhorn develops a respect with Neve, who he actually says surprisingly he quite likes her, even though she's like, "Fuck you," "fuck you, I love you" kind of attitude. Very. I would describe her as, it's not officially voiced like that, but if you ever met anyone from Boston, this is Boston in a person.
Yes, of course.
Yes, if you know what I mean. I like that. And they shout out to Boston. I do like Boston. They basically work out that the idents use, the key belongs to someone who should be very, very dead. An Inquisitor named Quicksauce. And you see there's small hints in the novels that Eisenhorn often refers to, basically when you're an Inquisitor and you're learning, you sometimes learn from the previous events or the teachings of other Inquisitors. And the one that was basically his idol when he was young is an Inquisitor Quicksauce, who should be many hundreds of years dead by now. And he's a very famous guy. They don't understand how this is possible.
When you say his name,
Quicksauce.
Is it like quick sauce? Like
Quicksos. Yeah,
okay, come on, like Quixus or okay.
Yeah.
Quicksauce.
Okay. Quick sauce,
How exactly do his codes still work? If he's been dead for hundreds of years, shouldn't that have been an
the
immediate
Imperium
red
is
flag?
bad, bro.
That's true. Of course, the Administratum, planets get destroyed, and it's 300 years later. Oh shoot, we're just getting to the paperwork. That's true. You're right.
That is true. It is an older code, but it checks out.
It checks out. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love the reference there. They see that the codes have been used recently to basically infiltrate another group. So all of them, they gear up and they prepare to go fight them. This is where we see Neve, because obviously she's Cadian. There's a fun fact in there, a very, very small fun fact in this novel. It points out like the people on Cadia, they're so obsessed with being militarized that even like the civilian fashion of Cadia is like military gear. Like they just like the world building on Cadia is so good in this novel. So give this one a read if you have time. It's good.
Oh man, they're all wearing camo cargo pants.
Yeah.
You mean?
Yeah, like it's that bad.
Yeah, big whoop, idiot. I did that in Boy Scouts.
Yeah, man.
No, but like
I
even
did that
like
in high school for free.
everyone's wearing it.
I looked that way before. I had a roller backpack and everything. No one got any pussy.
Well, all right.
Bro,
Well,
did you have like
clearly it was due to my trip.
obviously, yeah.
Bro definitely had a leather necklace with a like single ring on it. Shout out to
Yeah.
2000s.
What was it the good old Moist Critical would joke about? He had like a copy of Psychonauts on like a disc on like a chain around his neck.
Oh,
Wow.
No,
impressive.
That's baller though.
Yeah.
So the two different groups, Neves and Eisenhorns, they gear up. What's quite cool here is actually you get to see in the ship they have Kazakin with them. And obviously, like in most novels, if you're like a Starseed, like, oh, it's a human. In this one, it really like it's absolutely deep throating how like good the Kazakin are. I'm not gonna lie, they kind of go too hard. But they basically arrive at this sort of near one of the pylon sort of sections. They confront these infiltrators who kind of seem like more like a regular group of cultists, and they seize them. They hold them at gunpoint. Except they see a floating figure emerge within the group. It unveils itself. It is a demon host, and it says its name is Profanity. It is not Cherubael. There's another demon host.
Oh, great.
Yeah. A fight breaks out between the two groups with Nail, Fishig, Inshabel, and Hussman. They're gunning down these cultists. There's quite a few like cool points in here, like the different characters. Like Inshabel's obviously Inquisition, so he has like sleek gear and like pistols. Hussman has his like sniper. Nail's got like some huge F-off machine gun, and Fishig has his old Arbites gear. They're killing these cultists as Eisenhorn, Beckwin, and Neve. They're attacked by the demon host. It's a pretty horrible like fight. But obviously, Beckwin being a blank, it sort of massively helps. They almost like hold on to each other, otherwise Profanity can use its psychic powers like crush their minds. But it doesn't mean it doesn't stop a claw attack reaping you in half, so it starts to attack them physically. The Kazakin at this point, I believe it describes it as like Eisenhorn says the amount of bravery they show like impresses him even to this day, because the Kazakin throw themselves in front of the demon host like with no fear whatsoever.
Damn.
At one point, Medea arrives in the gun cutter to like there's a pretty horrific like duel between them. Neve gets injured. She has her own she has a weird I think it's a grenade launcher attachment to her cane or something. It's so bizarre. Medea arrives in the gun cutter and is like, fuck you, just like obliterates the demon host's body. It's not fully dead, but it's sent away.
Incapacitated, yeah.
Yes. At this point, they think they've managed to survive it, but Eisenhorn quickly learns in this fight, like, all of his gear is useless against these demon hosts. He's surviving through luck. He's gonna have to get much stronger to be able to combat these things. Except over the ridge, over the hill, a larger Imperial force crests it. And Bricky, I have a very small quote to explain what happens when these new individuals arrive. If you'd be so kind to read out this excerpt.
Inquisitor Eisenhorn, boomed a vox-amped voice from the lead APC, for crimes against the Imperium, for the atrocity at Thracium, for consorting with demon hosts, you are hereby arrested and condemned to death. I recognized the voice. It was Ozma.
Yep.
This is, I'm sorry, I don't know if this is supposed to be intentionally like this. This is funny as shit to me. I find this hysterical. Because like every single time things are going whatever way, he shows up and he's like, hey, dude who's technically on my team, you're still a fuckhead. I'm going to kill you.
This is not the same guy from earlier. I just want to mention. This is not.
Yeah. His
Oh, it's not.
mortal rival, yeah.
This is an Inquisitor named Ozma, and
Oh,
this is one of the. We'd only briefly met him a bit earlier on Thracian, but this was the guy who we mentioned. Like he's one of the Thorians, and he's pretty
yes.
extreme.
Yes. Sorry. Who's the Witch Seeker guy again?
Tantalid? Yeah.
Tantalid.
He's not over
the
yet.
way
He's not
the
over
way
yet.
he pulled up and immediately said those things, it sounds like the thing Tantalid would say.
It does. I do not
It
blame
will-
you for interchanging the two.
Don't worry about it because he might show up again.
Oh, I'm sure he will.
It's kind of hoping
Yes.
you're gonna be like, oh yeah, well it's fine because Eisenhorn's about to kill this asshole.
Inquisitor Ozma, who is seen as kind of the heir apparent to Lord General like Orsini, like he is shown up. This is the guy who mentioned like he's a Thorian, like he's a pretty strong Puritan.
Mhm.
We've only had brief interactions in the novel, but this is the part where you go like, oh fuck. Eisenhorn is taken prisoner, much to the protest of General Inquisitor Neve, and Ozma begins this interrogation. There's a lot of I'm gonna have to skip over a few scenes because a lot of back and forth. And there's parts where Eisenhorn like tactically lies because he obviously maybe knows some things as well. Like obviously his face is also paralyzed. At one point he says like, "Thank God I can't smile, otherwise I'd give more away." It is pretty obvious that Ozma just thinks he's a heretic. Like this is no, like he's like, "Oh yep, see the demon host spared your life that one time long ago. Yep, you were at Thracian, you didn't die. You stopped by the Spatian Gate. Isn't that weird?" I think that's what he asked Eisenhorn that, and Eisenhorn doesn't know why he stopped by the Spatian Gate either. But he's like, how does it you survived, huh? So it's very obvious that Ozma just doesn't care. He thinks he's a heretic. At this point, Eisenhorn requests petitions to Lord Inquisitor Rorken, who is like kind of the guy who has a soft spot for him. And Rorken does help by asking to create a formal trial that will happen on Thracian, so therefore he is like protected and he can speak his piece. Except Ozma is so convinced that he's literally willing to get to like 8th or 7th level interrogation methods, which basically requires breaking into the mind of the person and essentially turning them into like a slobbering mess. He's willing to kill Eisenhorn before, like basically they've got like a day before he has to leave, and he's not going to make it. Fischig, at this point, the others are like they have their weapons taken away, but they're not like arrested like Eisenhorn. Fischig acts as the like representative, kind of like his lawyer, but not quite, for Eisenhorn. He like visits him in prison at times. He interestingly asks Eisenhorn like, "Have you broken the codes? Like, are you a heretic?" Like, there's like like a friend to friend, look me in the eye and tell me the truth. To which Eisenhorn says, "No, I have not done this." It's again to show like what I said in the last episode, how Fischig is really like straight and narrow. He's not like a Puritan as much as Ozma, but he's got a very strong sense of right and wrong. It's obviously why he's an Arbites. He believes Eisenhorn, and he tells him, "Make sure you eat all your food." Later, Eisenhorn becomes extremely ill. His body starts to like sweat. He's in cold sweat. He starts to flatline. He's dying. It is so bad that reluctantly the Inquisitors, who think he's like faking it, they agree to move him to a hospital. And in like the sheeting rain of like Cadian winter, as this is happening, Medea and her ship arrive. They intercept. They kill the Inquisitor's retinue holding Eisenhorn, and they grab him. And now officially, Eisenhorn and his group aboard the SN with Maxilla, they're on the run. They are extremis diabolus, and they are considered heretics. Execution on sight. This is bad. This is bad.
That's not good. It's not good at all.
I'll say like hey, guys, go ahead, DK. You guys are saying?
Oh, I was just going to say, Shai was saying what fucks me up is that Thorians are Puritan Inquisitors, but their goal is to resurrect Emperor by moving his soul into another body, which they plan to build Frankenstein style, which seems, yeah, Shai, that seems pretty fucking radical. Yep, sure does.
I was going to ask you two a question, which is, who do you think inadvertently does more damage to the Imperium, the Puritans or the Radicals?
I would probably shit.
it's a hard one to think about.
Because the Puritans do lots of damage by refusing helpful tools, items, and options.
Mm-hmm.
But
corrupted radicals, eh?
corrupted radicals are not good either.
No.
If
I
you gotta
mean,
think of,
it
like,
feels like a little from column A, a little from column B. I don't think either, like, they both do kind of a lot of damage, don't they? Like, is there one that really is worse than the other? Aren't they kind of just both, like, problematic?
the argument could be made that the radicals like lose themselves in their pursuit, but they perhaps save more and they do more because they're willing to make the hard choices. Whereas the Puritans, they almost like they eat the Imperium from within and they erode it. Like
Right.
Puritans are willing to like blow up another planet, like a whole planet, if maybe like one instance of heresy.
It's weird because, like, the Puritans would absolutely, yes, would not let 30 alpha level cycles walk in a parade.
Yeah,
But the
so
Puritans
true.
probably would just kill them,
Yeah,
which would then, if then starve, let's say, a Space Marine chapter of librarian recruits.
true.
So you have a little bit of like both
Problematic in their in their own
it-
right.
yeah. So
I think
it kind of
people
depends.
who are listening, maybe comment below what you think, because that's it's an interesting dilemma of you either so Puritan that you end up devouring the Imperium from within, or you're so radical you end up, the ends justifying the means kind of character.
Well,
Let us know
you
what you think.
devour yourself.
Yeah, you devour yourself.
Radicals are road to hell paved with good intentions, but the Puritans, they're already kind of on that road to hell, but they're just doing it to each other. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really depends on what kind of philosophical take you want to have with this kind of thing.
It's interesting though. That's why I like inquisitorial stories. There's like they're able to like capture that nuance, which is like interesting in like this Warhammer universe. The next section is going to be called Kinshare. And I'll be honest, it's a very brutal time for the group. They are completely on the run, cut off from the resources they usually have. At many times, it states they actually had to kill loyalist forces who are basically trying to capture them whilst they're on their hunt for Quixos. Eventually, Eisenhorn realizes, like, as I was saying earlier, he doesn't have the tools to face this Quixos. This Quixos in this novel is like kind of like a mysterious, like, background figure. Like, it's not like a evil that Eisenhorn has seen, and yet he knows he doesn't have the strength, the tools, and most importantly, the knowledge to actually fight against it. He's completely found lackluster. Quixos clearly has a plan for whatever is involving the Cadian pylons. It's a plan that's so dangerous that it may, threaten the entire Imperium. So despite him, he's not going to turn himself into the Inquisition or like beg, hey, I need a fair trial, because they're not going to be heard out at this point. They need to gather strength, and Eisenhorn cooked up a way of doing this. He travels to this asteroid rock called Kinshare or Chincare or something. And Kinshare is a mining colony because he's looking for a particular individual he believes should be at this station. A individual named Magos Bure, who is an ally and a previous kind of known confidant of his master, Inquisitor Hapshant. He hasn't seen Bure for quite a long time, but Bure is known to be quite a specialist in forging, and he may need his advice / his expertise. They arrive in this facility, and only like a few of them go in. So Eisenhorn, Medea, and Amos, they infiltrate this facility and they pretend to be like different people. They like add in a few like little cogs and wheels to Amos, and they make him look like a sort of member of like kind of the proverbial tech priest / scholars, circle. They make it. They they give my boy a little bit of a dress up. He deserves it. He's a good guy. And in this facility they've arrived in, there's something strange about it. Like, even immediately as they arrive, there's only a skeleton crew that seems to be operating. And at points, like, one or two of them seem to notice, like, different members of the skeleton crew have birthmarks that look a bit weird, and they seem to be, like, in the same place. They find, like, they basically have this weird, like, kind of, uneasy alliance because Amos pretends to be like a scholar who's like, just let me stay for a few days. It's most perturbatory. Let me investigate. And like, okay, something is obviously wrong with them. At night, Eisenhorn is investigating around this Mechanicus facility, and he can't fathom because there's a mine shaft at the end. But before he goes there, he's like in this temple area, and he can't fathom why they've left so much gear behind. It doesn't seem to make sense to him. There's even like a crazy part where I just like it's a very small little excerpt here, DK, which goes to like just show like the scale, the power of the Mechanicus, if you'd be so kind.
Yeah. Chilly starlight shone down through an Opinion in the center of the roof, directly above the massive grandiorite plinth. The huge severed head of an ancient warlord titan hung above the plinth where the starlight shafted down. I realized that nothing supported the head, no cables, no platform, no scaffolding. It simply hung in the air.
Yeah, like, it's just going to show like
Wow.
it's just going to show off the power and the scale that the Mechanicus possess. It's obviously like held together through some kind of mechanism or power or magnetism. But again, like, why has that been abandoned here? It doesn't seem to make any sense. The skeleton crew of this station have agreed to let them stay. Eisenhorn returns to Medea and Amos. At night, with Glossia, Thorn requires Aegis. They realize there are like figures at the door, and they're going to try and kill them. Amos wakes up, so does Medea. Medea gets out her gear and her guns. Amos pretends to keep snoring, and they all get ready. The door opens and they start shooting. Fun fact, favorite scene in the novel, Amos, who is a very, very old guy, he's a bit of a scholar, he punches a guy in the chest and he dies instantly. Just happens.
That's just does, huh?
Because Eisenhorn says to him, like, I forget how augmented this guy is. Amos straight up punches one punches a guy and he dies on the spot. Amazing. It's just so out of character. They run as a group to basically they kill the people who were trying to kill them, and they realize the rest of the crew seem to have gone missing. So they start to pursue / basically get away. They get into this small like mining raft, and they actually enter into the mine. And it's again, long story short, there's lots of like weird scenes about there's like different creatures and other like small gribblies hiding on the surface. It's kind of like that in Empire Strikes Back, where they're in like the belly of the massive worm. It gives off that kind of vibe.
Yeah, and the asteroid worm. I forget its name.
Yeah. It's like it's not that exact situation, but it gives off that kind of vibe. They push further. They're going through like it starts to get really, really hot. Like they're having to strip down to like just shirts and everything because it's so warm. They are through massive subterranean levels, and eventually they exit into this chamber. They find this colossal, massive walking construct, and it just turns on them and it's about to destroy them. Instead, Eisenhorn blurts out an old code of what belonged to Inquisitor Hapshant, and was probably the original like forms of what became Glossia. A ramp descends, and out pops a little old Magos Bure, who he's a funny little weirdo. This guy, he's a little funny guy. I like this guy because he's like a typical Magos. He's like human, but he weirdly has like sort of human intricacies and like weird like little tells. He weirdly gives people a hug sometimes at one point. He's very heavily augmented, and he's very, very happy to see Eisenhorn, and he's also happy to see Amos, who he respects greatly. They speak to Magos Bure, and they find out that something's wrong with the people here because the people had all the similar birthmark. It's actually a chaos mark probably, and that there's something deep within Kinshare that is basically corrupting things. And Magos Bure built this massive construct device, like this clawing, like spider type scorpion thing, to try and find out wherever the source is. Except Amos and Eisenhorn and Medea, they bring the missing piece because they realized the skeleton crew from earlier was so stupid they writ the coordinates on like a piece of tape, like in the control room from earlier. And Magos Bureau's like, huh, okay, that well, I've been digging for like 8 fucking months. Okay. So they agree like Eisenhorn's gonna help him do this. They'll help him deal with what this threat is. And again, I'm gonna long story short this because this is the part where like the novel kind of leaves me a little bit. I don't understand why we hang around here so long.
Mm-hmm.
They end up in this massive battle in this like chamber filled with magma and lava, and they start battling like these cultists who look corrupted. In the middle of it, there's this sort of strange, hyper dense geode shape, and they called it the Lith. And it seems to have been clearly corrupted by chaos and has been like speaking to them. They managed to like battle these cultists. Eisenhorn kills one of them earlier that he'd seen in the novel who was like talking to them. Eisenhorn is able to use the power of the Emperor in some way. Basically, he uses like the Imperial chant that kids do when they're like young. Banish the demons, banish the whatever. It's something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Something silly, but it's enough to like send chaotic, a reverberation of power back into the Lith, and it kind of breaks it. Later, the rest of the crew who are in the SN, like hiding elsewhere, they basically successfully defeated this Lith problem. They board the station, and they're now prepping for the upcoming attack, which they will use to fight against Quicksauce. Eisenhorn, he speaks to Bure, like they have some good conversations here. Again, like I'm ramping through it really quickly because if you want to do go check out this novel, if you want to get the full story of it, it's so like interesting. He speaks to Bure, like he confesses, like obviously he's a rogue technically, to which Bure doesn't judge him, and he really appreciates that. And interesting, like you can see Eisenhorn's change throughout the novel, where he's debating about how far he's willing to go to defeat someone like Quicksauce, who's like this unknown, he's like a big bad in his head. He's not someone he's ever seen in his mind. He doesn't even know what he really looks like. He descends into this chamber to it is like ice cold. It is flecked with like psychic shielding, and there's a device within this chamber which the last time he had seen Magos Bure, he had gifted him this device in the chamber because only he could trust only Bure with it. He sits down and he begins to speak to Pontius Glor, who should not be alive and
Wait,
certainly not here.
that's
Yeah,
the weird dude who dealt with the Necrochook, right?
yeah. The
Yeah.
little like soul obelisk thing of Pontius Glor, he was supposed to destroy him, and he's here. And he asked him to help him fight and Quicksauce with certain knowledge. Bricky, they have a very long conversation, but I have a small excerpt I have an excerpt of their conversation, which is where Pontius starts to like play with Eisenhorn. He's having fun. Would you please so kind?
Sure. The first step is the knowledge, said Pontius Glaw. An Inquisitor must understand the basic traits of chaos in order to fight it. In a few years, he knows more about the warp than most untutored cultists. Then, the second step, the moment he breaks the rules and allows some aspect of chaos to survive or remain so he can study it and learn from it. I wouldn't even bother trying to deny that one, Eisenhorn. I'm right here, aren't I? You are, said Eisenhorn, but understanding is essential. Even a Puritan will tell you that. Without it, the Inquisition struggle is hopeless. Don't get me started on that, he chuckled, then paused. This third step is the line itself, when the Inquisitor becomes a radical, when he chooses to use chaos against chaos, when he employs the agencies of the warp, when he asks the heretical for help. I see, said Eisenhorn. I'm sure you do. So, are you going to ask me to help you? Said Pontius Glaw.
Bum, bum,
Yeah.
bum.
Yeah, it is. This is like there's a funny part to like because there's like they have multiple rounds of interrogations, I should say. There's a part where Eisenhorn's like teasing Pontius, where he just arrives with booze and cigarettes, and he just starts drinking and smoking because obviously Pontius Galore can't experience sensations anymore, so he starts to go like, "Is that a low stick?" And he's like, yeah, it's great. It's like he's just such an arsehole about it. And then Glor's like, describe how the liquor tastes. And then Eisenhorn was like, it's not good. It's excellent. He's like, he's like, you bitch. Ah. Eventually he barters with Pontius Glor, who obviously should have been destroyed, but for some reason Eisenhorn kept. Obviously it comes in clutch now because Glor tells him knowledge about demon hosts and how to destroy them. He agrees at some point with a bargain to give Glor just like a servitor body, but just so he can experience sensations again, but nothing more than that. That's all he'll give him. He'll still be imprisoned by Björn. Foreshadowing is a literary device.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you. You beat me to it.
I was thinking that. Yes, but he leaves Glor in his prison and he emerges with knowledge that can help him fight Quixos. Well, obviously, we'll have to determine if he's crossed the line or not. There is some cool parts here where Björn, like, he reforges. There's a part I didn't get to earlier in this novel, but I am gonna, because I wanted to work now. Arianod, who is the sword master of Eisenhorn, at the very beginning of the novel, she was using a weapon called Barbaricata as her blade, basically her katana, I'll be honest. He was supposed to give it back to her family on her homeworld, but he kept it. At this point, he actually uses Barbaricata to be reforged by Björn into a weapon that could potentially kill a demon host. Björn also makes him a psychic staff, and all of the different has a skull on it, which you see in most of his artwork is like a perfect representation of Eisenhorn's own skull.
Weird.
There's ingredients used within the now purified lith that is incorporated into these weapons, so you can tell they're properly gearing up. Eisenhorn at this point has a few conversations with Nail, and he asks Nail "Don't you play dirty sometimes to win?" And Nail's like, "Yeah, yeah, sure sure thing, boss." But he says if you play dirty all the time, sometimes that has consequences. So you can tell something Eisenhorn is changing. Something is I don't know if it's he's not like a heretic, but his opinion on Puritanism may not be the same that it once was, which is very fascinating. The group at this point, they have this nice last dinner with Maxilla. They actually enjoy their time together. It's quite nice. They actually have a bond. They're all been through a lot and they're all basically heretics together, because this will be the last dinner they have for what will probably be about a year, because they realize they need to scatter and gather as much allies and power and resource they can to help fight with Quixos. Eisenhorn departs with some of the, from most of the group. Him and Medea, again, we're doing a lot of long story shorts in this episode because this one is even longer than the previous episode, but we're getting very close to the final battle here. He does go to a ecclesiastical world and tries to get a blessing from a cathedral belonging to a Saint Ezra, because he needs to bless his weapons. That helps it make it anti-demon 2-up, basically, hopefully. There's a fun little where's Caldor Draco? There's a fun little tidbit about, they mention this cathedral, they bring out doves and loads of birds every day, and they basically die at the end of the day, because this kills them. But they keep doing this every day because it just shows the pointless inevitability of what the Imperium seems to be doing. They're just killing these poor birds. Eisenhorn infiltrates in, because obviously he can't use his identity. He infiltrates into this cathedral. He gets a blessing on the blade. He kind of has to the priest or the cardinal asks him, have you consorted with evil? Do you have any intentions? And he has tactically answer, because obviously the line is slightly blurred. He's about to leave. There was a small part where I don't have time to go into it, but there's a small part about there's a little navigator who they had to trick into being their navigator for a while. She thought, I'm gonna die because of you, Eisenhorn, and it basically comes to fruition on this world where they start getting shot at, the crowd scatter, because a man in golden ceramite with a 2-handed chainsaw has appeared.
No.
And he tells
there he
Eisenhorn,
is.
you
God
are
damn
a
it.
despicable heretic. Tantalid finally got his wish, and he tries to attack Eisenhorn throughout the streets. Eisenhorn is running. Medea shows up. She throws Eisenhorn Barbarous Satyr, the sword, which has been blessed. Which is really, this is the part I don't understand in this book. Like, this character is so annoying. And then this happens next, where he starts to battle with Tantalid. It's like poor people in the crowd are getting mushed because they're just taking rogue shots. He doesn't care. Eisenhorn and Tantalid square up for a final hit. Barbarous Satyr and his blade, his 200 chainsaw clash, and Barbarous Satyr cuts through it like butter, just to show how good this blade is. He kills Tantalid. He kills a witch hunter on an ecclesiarchy world. And yeah, it is just pandemonium. They end up having to run. He kind of doesn't, to be honest, he doesn't feel that too bad about it. but also,
Probably
it's
not. I would feel bad about
another
killing
line
this
is
asshole.
crossed. It's another line that's been crossed, though. They end up running. All the other different members of the group, like Nail, Inshabel. I forgot a detail to mention earlier. They actually did kill. Sorry, when Medea killed the profanity demon on Cadia earlier, it resurrected in the body of Hussman, the sniper, and so he's long gone. So members of their crew have been scattered for what is all nearly a year, could be months, and they eventually get we're about to enter in the final fight now. They meet on this kind of, basically they send out secret missives, and they send over 20 bespoke letters from Eisenhorn trying to plead his case. They eventually meet after a long time on a world called Thessalon, which is basically in nowhere. It's a nothing planet. They have a secret meeting where 4 Inquisitors have shown up to basically hear Eisenhorn out. Commodus Voke has shown up. Haldane refused, because obviously Haldane would probably have killed him on sight. Titus Endor has shown up, his friend. An Inquisitor named Raum Grumman, who actually is another Cadian, and he is a big friend of General Neve, who she got in trouble with being friends with Eisenhorn, but they can't get rid of her because she's obviously on the Cadian gate. She's too important, but she's sending him as her representative. And a man named Massimo Risi, who apparently has the most bespoke gear and the craziest inquisitorial get up out of all of them. Mr. Risi is Lord Rorken's basically his spiritual successor. He's going to be his next guy. And the reason he's here, he even says it to Eisenhorn, I'm here to kill you if you are a heretic. I'm basically the guillotine if this isn't right. But Lord Inquisitor Rorken likes you, he believes you, and I'm here to hear you out. Beckwin and the others, it's a very secretive meeting. They're it's quite tense. They start to present all of their evidence, the things to do with Thracian Primaris, the things to do with the cults of Baal, the Cadian pylons. They've managed to, in that year alone, they found secret diversions of materials of what's not quite Blackstone at the time. It's quite an early, this is 2002, I think this novel came out. So it's an early concept of it. But there's a material that's similar, and it looks to be it may be building towards someone's making fake Cadian pylons. And obviously that is belonging to Quicksos. They start to put other pieces together, which is Lyco, the Inquisitor from earlier, he was probably a acolyte of Quicksos. The guy from the first novel, Conrad Molitor, if you remember, he had the 2 arcoflagellants, and he also did he killed one of Eisenhorn's prisoners early, and he tried to kill them in the very end at Physics Ezar. He probably also was an acolyte of Quicksos. So other things are starting to make sense. And this is where they present their final evidence. The last person who gave a message to Beckwin to read is from Gideon Ravener. He's alive. His mind works, though his body is broken. He did his own investigation while his mind was his body was healing to essentially a scarred thumb of a thing. And he manages to gift them with scrolls of protection. And it really, really moves Eisenhorn because, like, I can't believe Gideon survived. The 4 Inquisitors are convinced, and they agree, like, we shall attack Quixos together. This is not going to be, like, super sanctioned by the Inquisition. We'll have to use what we have. I was going to ask you guys, I think, interestingly, like, with the Inquisition and the way, like, they kind of operate, do you think that it it's almost hard to ask, like, do you think the Inquisition is, like, a net good or a net bad for the Imperium? Because
Hell
somewhat of the
no, dude. It is
Oh,
a
no,
huge net bad.
yeah, I was gonna say it's probably not a net good. There's so many corrupt inquisitors. There's so much radical nonsense they do. There's so much of like couldn't decide if Puritans or radicals were which one was worse. So yeah, I'm kind of with Bricky on this one. It's got to be a huge net bad,
do
right?
you think of,
See,
like, one like Cryptman?
I know what you're trying to get at here, which is like the enemies within and the horrible events stopped by Inquisitors. However, what level of those horrible events are caused based on the Imperium's situations to begin with? You know, it's kind of like the old phrase, like, of course I'm xenophobic. Have you seen these aliens? And it's like, dude, the Great Crusade, you killed every
You
ally you
killed
could
all
have
the peaceful
possibly
ones.
had.
Yeah.
Like, you know, every single one that could have helped you is dead now. You killed them all. Like how many chaos cults have been created due to the strictness of the Imperium? How many like gene
Hmm.
stealer cults in their own right are literally stirred on by like a workers class uprising against the authoritarian government?
It does
You
make me
know?
think of there's a Gilliman quote in, you guys did a Devastation of Baal episode, and people will know, like, from that episode, Gilliman arrives at the very end of it, and I think he even says to Dante that what reason would people not have to choose hell if they already live in it, or something similar to that?
Yeah,
That they
that,
need to
that's kind of the point of it. I mean, like, okay, let me like a rephrase them. I think maybe Inquisitors are a net good for the Imperium in the state they're in, but I don't think
but
that
not for humanity.
no, like
No.
in the sense that like, well, sure, they can do and help stop a lot of horrible things that are most likely brought on due to the Imperium itself.
Yeah.
You guys remember Horus Rising?
I
I
do.
think back, like how, they say people can't know about chaos because it will, like, make more chaos. Do you remember how the Interrex, they actually know about chaos? Like, their society is somewhat known amongst
Oh
them
yeah.
that chaos exists, and yet they don't seem to. The only reason they had trouble was because someone else arrived in a
Because
big
Erebus came in
misunderstanding,
and was a shithead and stole their
but it
stuff,
wasn't
and
internal.
no, it
Essentially, like,
wasn't.
it's like the weird mirror of, like, is the Inquisition in a way, like, it's it creates, like, a death spiral of itself where the ignorance and the horrible, like Eisenhorn is a, Amalathian. He thinks the Imperium is perfect as it is. Yet it seems to create so much opportunity for chaos to seep within. So,
Who
yeah, it's
who
the
feeds chaos the most in the galaxy right now?
humans
Yeah.
undoubtedly, like,
Has to be
Humanity
humans. Has to be.
humanity by a country mile. And I am not one to believe that, the same would happen if the Imperium took a more, what is it, less, like, clouded stance.
it's it's a weird hard one because it's, like that we would want that, and yet in some way the universe would punish you for doing that. That's what makes it so horrifying, isn't it? Which,
Yeah.
again, like, one of the reasons I like Warhammer when you realize how, like, shit it is in terms of, like, this is bad."
I mean, if you have to really be semantical about it, I would imagine that the Imperium is currently or sorry, the Inquisition is currently a good thing for the current Imperium. Like, the Inquisition does a lot of really important things for the current age of the Imperium, because the current age of the Imperium is a horrid hellscape. But, like, I feel like the case for Inquisitors in a normal time may be a bit horrid across the board,
Yeah.
and a lot of them are still awful anyway, Inquisitors, that is. They kill innocents all the time, they're very, problematic. They don't really have tolerance ever.
Or you get Inquisitors like Ozma or witch hunters like
Tantalid.
Tantalid, who just, they don't care if civilians are caught up because,
Innocence
my
proves
goal
nothing.
is, yes, I just love Inquisition raised episode because it makes me there's so much to talk about. But speaking of wrapping up this episode, it's time for the last final fight, which surprisingly is quite a very small section of the book. It happens really quickly. They, with their evidence at this sort of conclave, they put together that all of these trades and these different routes, they all lead to a small world near Cadia, near the Eye of Terror, called Farnus Beta. And that's probably where this Quixos is. The group assembles all of their staff and their assets together. The Cadians, the distaff, all the different residues of there are hundreds and thousands, there are thousands of people together, and they arrive above the world of Farnus Beta. They start to attack this weird fortress, this defense system that is obviously run by the cultists, the cult of Quixos, essentially. There's a lot of small events that happen within this part, but again, surmising it for the podcast, Eisenhorn at some point does fight with Cherubael, and he brings out his new weapons. He's able to almost go toe to toe with him until it's kind of revealed that he basically kills Cherubael, but Cherubael reveals to Eisenhorn that he wanted this, that he's been manipulating Eisenhorn on this path because Cherubael has basically been forced into compliance by Quixos. And he knew if he messed with Eisenhorn, because the warp works in mysterious ways, time flows strangely. If he manipulated Eisenhorn, he'd one day develop the tools to free him from Quixos, and his soul, his demon soul, evaporates back into the warp. This happens because at the same time this is happening, there's other different conflicts going on. So, and it's pretty brutal. Loads of the kill teams are all separated, and actually Eisenhorn realizes, we brought everything and we might not have enough. Commodus Vogue ends up fighting the other demon host, Profanity, which kills him, unfortunately. Poor Commodus Vogue dies to the demon host. He did his best, hold it off. Inchabel gets really wounded. Titus Endor is pretty badly wounded until Eisenhorn is able to use the Barbarous Satyr to, the Uwil Quan Saha to, basically destroy the second demon host. As he's helping up Titus Endor, he sees Titus Endor. Weirdly, he looks at his inquisitorial rosette, who he'd been hiding it in the previous meeting. It's no longer Ordos Xenos. He switched Ordos because Ozma had threatened him, because apparently he had something on Endor, and Endor was supposed to spy on Eisenhorn. You don't really know if Endor technically did give up information on Eisenhorn, maybe he did or not, but it ends their friendship on the spot. Eisenhorn pushes in further. He meets up with the other two Inquisitors, Rishi and Grumman. It's been pretty brutal. There's no more, the distaff is, everyone's scattered. They seem to enter, this blood-slicked, dark hold with, a few Kazakin and them. And, DK, this is the final little excerpt of the episode here. And this is what happens when they enter into this chamber, which I will say, on the ceiling, there are alpha level cycles on chains, and one of them is probably a Charadon. And there are loads of them. And this is what happens.
Instantly, Ricci was split open down the length of his spine. As he was still in the process of falling on his face, choking on his own blood, one of the Kasrkin was severed at the waist and toppled in halves, his gun firing spasmodically. Grumman pushed me out of the way as the devastating blur turned again and fired his last pistol at it 3 times. Snapping around faster than my eyes could follow the long, dark blade the blur was wielding snapping around faster than my eyes could follow, the long, dark blade the blur was wielding deflected each crackling shot. Grumman's head left his shoulders. Quixos, the arch-heretic, the renegade, the unforgivable radical, whirled on me before Grumman's butchered body had even started to slump. I had one fleeting glimpse of the long demon sword. Carnager. It was gnarled and knotted and thick with abominable ruins and irregular claw-like serrations. That's all I saw as it came whistling towards my face.
Eisenhorn meets not really a man or like a villain or like a rival. He meets the end of the inquisitorial radical path. This is the dark mirror to what the radical can become. And this Quicksource character is like, his face is like gnarled and almost animal-like. Like their two blades clash together, and he snarls in Eisenhorn's face, "You're a heretic." Like he cannot see how far he has fallen. They begin this brutal duel that basically uses everything Eisenhorn has.
Yeah, but
The
see what Shy's getting at this statement about like how, oh well, we talked about how we would be radical inquisitors instead, and yada yada yada. But she's saying, hey, cue the difference here. And to that I say, nuh-uh, wouldn't be me.
Yeah,
would not
nah,
would not be
I'd
me.
win.
All
But it's
my
like no
homies hate
matter
Quicksource.
which path you take, though, you kind of turn into an asshole. You either, oh yeah, I'm a radical, and now I've been corrupted by chaos, or you end up being an absolute douche nozzle like Tantalid or Ozma.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
actually
the
prefer the idea of just being meat. How about instead
go
I could
on.
just be dead? I prefer that.
Yeah, that's true Warhammer. The the brutal fight between the two, it almost ends when this like a demon blade, like Quixos explained, like he would have basically sacrificed billions and millions of people to basically make fake pylons and like defeat the warp, but he can't really see how he's going to achieve that. Like it's almost madness. Which is interesting because obviously it's like a thread that's tapped on much later. 20 years later, basically in Warhammer. It ends when Eisenhorn's Barbarossator and the Demon Horde sword clash, and Barbarossator snaps. This somehow works out because if the blade had held, it would have cut Eisenhorn in two. Its snapping meant he could plunge the broken part in the hilt into Quicksource, and he's basically able to kill him. And then when the like broken, like gnarled and like knotted and animal-like form of Quicksource is dead on the floor, Eisenhorn notices a certain tome drop from him. It's one called the Malleus Codicium, and it's something that he puts within his pocket. The novel ends with Eisenhorn is like reinstated as an inquisitor, and it's like it's called the Quicksource Affair. It's a thing of legend, and they seem to like the Inquisition arrives and cleans it all up. And the very last scene is in a vault that will be forgotten. Using the words of the Malleus Codicium, Eisenhorn binds a screaming and raging Cherubael, because Eisenhorn has not forgiven him for using him, and he will not let that thing run free. And he will stay within this layered vault until he deems, basically for all eternity. And that is the end
Damn.
of Malleus.
Oh,
which
good
is
job, Eisenhorn. Now you've used the cursed book.
Well,
yeah, like it's a
get
it's
fucked
weird,
though,
like, a lot of people-
Cherubael.
Yeah. Interesting enough, though, this is of the trilogy. This is usually people's least favorite. I think that's probably because there may be too many characters. I would have thought like the Ozma character and the Tanta character could have been folded into one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like investigation. Like it is obviously Inquisitor. There's a lot of investigations in this book, but I don't know, like some of them go on for quite a long time. But a lot of the scenes are very interesting, and particularly the combat scenes and the build up towards the end. I would have said Quicksource is not designed to be a character of he's like, I'm the hero, he's the villain. Quicksource is just to show you what radicalism basically leads to, and it leaves you questioning after Eisenhorn has seen all that, why has he chosen to do that thing at the end with Cherubael? So it's the mystery's deepening, and there's obviously two more main novels in this series, and lots of short stories. But that is the end of Malleus. What do you guys think?
Oof.
Is it longer than the other ones?
It in terms of explaining it, maybe it feels like that. I think in the first one, we obviously had like a bit of setup for who Eisenhorn was, whereas this one is just this is all like I massively surmise some of the things that happen in this book, but
Yeah, it seems like a
Yeah.
chunky book, doesn't it? It seems like there's a
it's because
lot to
Eisenhorn's in
unpack.
every scene. That's the thing. Like in other
Yeah.
books, you know, like your character's not in every section. Eisenhorn novels are all from his own perspective in mind, so he's
Right.
in every single scene.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
we went a
interesting.
long way.
Yeah, I feel like I would have liked Osmo and those guys to be turn into one. I thought he would be keep like I was ready for every scene to end with him being like Eisenhorn, I found you, I condemn you to death,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
then
that's
like
what I mean,
over and
yeah.
over again. I would have found it to be kind of funny, honestly. I think it would have been rather humorous.
I thought it was gonna
I
be like the
yeah.
Javert to Jean Valjean, where he's always
Yeah.
there,
I
he's
would
always chasing you. It's the
I wouldn't be
stars, man.
surprised if they ever did like a live action, there was something like that where maybe not exactly, but they folded that character into like more than one character. Because it, like surprisingly, he has like such a big opening of being like Eisenhorn, you bitch, and then it like only you're only see him once more. But he made an impression because all his like you know his aura and his gear, but
Yeah.
still pretty weird. Like the novel is a very like again I like all the Eisenhorn novels. They're all pretty good. But sorry, what was you guys were thinking about it? Sorry, Bricky, I interrupted you.
Oh no, I was just saying like it is interesting. I feel like it's one of those types of things where it does kind of feel a little Empire Strikes Backy, not just because of some of the Star Wars-esque type things there, but based on the how they're kind of like moving through the system and like how things are going. Um
Like on the
but
run almost.
Okay, a little bit,
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah. But also I do like that they were trying that they're setting up this like fall from grace for Eisenhorn, you know?
Mm.
I also love this because this is always just awesome to me. I like how the quick sauce, the portrait of him like the only thing that makes that look chaos to me at all is the slight horn in his top right and his long nails. Get rid of those. This is just an Imperial Inquisitor. It's
There
just a
was
photo
a
of an
Yeah,
Inquisitor.
kinda.
there is an older artwork um from the time, I believe, and it's like really old school that shows you more what they were thinking. I think I might even have it actually if I can give that to you guys here, but that's what like this is the actual like end fight scene. I'm describing it for the audio listeners. In Quick Sauce is in like much more like heavier, almost like a version like Terminator-ish esque gear. He has like his demon like glaive blade looking thing, like spikes and horns, and the
Yeah.
Malleus is on his book, and his head is much more like demented and like weird, like shaped. Yeah, it was like there's like old school representations of what it was more like at the time, but
Honestly, the
it's
old school
yeah.
one, he looks less demonic
I was saying
than
that
the other one.
too. I
Yeah.
was thinking that too. He looks less demonic in the
He
Oh,
old
like his
school.
I mean like his gear probably. His gear, like his sword is so
Aside
sick.
from his sword, he would pass as just he's just a raggedy old Inquisitor for sure. If he didn't have his, like, demon Zweihander thing, yeah, it's just an Inquisitor.
Oh, for the proper lore buffs out there, I forgot to mention the alpha level psychers were being gathered in an attempt to be used for that like mass plan to like power up these like fake Cadian pylons. So that's why they were all being like kidnapped or like released from Thracian Primaris in the beginning. So it does all like what I appreciate is like all of these connect. Like these are very there's no like missing like weird plot hole in any of the Dan Abnett Eisenhorn novels. They're all
Mhm.
pretty good.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but that is Malleus. And you know, Inquisitor Eisenhorn returns for Avengers Doomsday with there's two more novels to complete in the future, and I will say I only have one sentence for it, which is prepare to cry.
Oh, great.
Too late. Already did that. Because you told me that Betancourt has died. That's what the
Yeah,
hell?
but yeah, I also skipped over a lot of the Medea scenes,
Well, yeah.
just because like it's more of like the in between, not because she's a good character. I particularly even like in the I don't want to spoil it.
I assume the Betancourt bloodline is very sick.
Yeah, they're all pretty cool. And there's more to, like, it's not the end of Midas necessarily, but it's like, well, kind of is, but like he's not going to not be ever not mentioned again.
Yeah, we'll get to it, I'm sure.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in that yes.
Go ahead. Do you want me to?
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, so Shai was saying, since we're taking a little bit of a break from Eisenhorn for a bit, we're going to go back to covering the Horus Heresy, because turns out we covered some extremely important events in passing. Like when I went back, I couldn't believe we never did an episode on the Isfahan 3 drop site massacre. So that's what we'll be covering in the autumn of heresy, corny ass shit.
Drop Site Massacre is such a good book.
Which
so good.
Is there a book called Drop Site Massacre?
Yeah, they made another one. They made another Horus Heresy book. Me and Remembrancer did a because when it came out, me and Remembrancer did a episode for it, and we're doing a Horus Heresy podcast, and we were so happy that episode came out because they actually fleshed out Isfahan 5.
Well, because isn't the Drop Site Massacre wasn't the original book for that the first Heretic?
It's technically covered in Fulgrim, and then it's covered in, like, you have multiple perspectives, but the Drop Site Massacre solely like deals with more of the, God forbid it, the poor Iron Hands guys getting some lore. Ferrus Manus speaks in that book, you know.
Holy shit, this is new territory.
It also deals with a problem of to do with a certain character like Little Horus, you know, Horus Axioman. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of ourselves. Different
Axioman, yeah.
But
I mean, I always remember it from the first Heretic, because the first Heretic is like the original Drop Site Massacre book, I believe, and that's
it's a good one. I like that one. It's a good one. Great book.
Yeah. Well, yeah, first Heretic, good one. First Heretic.
No, I meant Drop Site Massacre.
Oh, okay. I was like first Heretic.
First
Heretic, good book. Oh, I guess it's an art.
I know. Book.
Yeah, good book, like the Chaos Bible.
Yeah.
All right, now convince me to read Lords of Silence while you're here, Hal.
Do it.
All right, very well. He did it.
Wow, amazing. I'm sold.